Okay, good morning. So we're picking back up on the Monitaur. This is day 2. Today what we're going to be doing is we're taking our Angular CLI site that we scaffolded yesterday. We're going to hook it up to the Angular OIDC 2 plugin, and then we're going to be connecting that over to the identity server. Following that, we're going to set up SignalR for data transfer between our Web API ASP.NET Core 3.1 project and our Angular CLI app. We're also going to be using SignalR for the back-end service here, services SignalR, as well as the plugin that we're writing for this thing, which is going to be up on NuGet, but we're not going to be implementing that today. So if you have any questions, please put them into the chat. Also, we got the Discord, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com, and I put these videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to create a couple of different services for this. So let me go ahead and make a new module in my Angular project, and I'm going to call this a, ng generate, and it's going to be a module, and we're going to call this core. Okay, and that generates this core module for me here. Now this is not exactly what I wanted, because I wanted to do one with routing. Okay, so now when I look here in my app module, I should have my declarations in here for my features module and my cores module. So we're going to go ahead and leave this app routing module for now. And in here, I'm going to add in my core component, core module. So we have it imported, okay? This looks right. Everything looks right here. So now in our core module, what I want to have in here is here we go. I want to have my commons module. I'm going to have this new thing which I'm adding called Auth module. And then we're going to add later probably something called a services module to it. So we're going to add an Auth module next. It's adding my core routing module there. Just a second. So I believe what I can do here is now we're going to make a new ng generate, and it's a module, and we're going to call this one core/auth, and we're also going to add in routing on that. Now our routing module for core doesn't actually exist, but this auth one does, okay? And now what we need to do is we need to generate a service in here called core auth, and the first thing we're going to create is called auth guard. And this is to make sure that users have authorized in to the app before they're allowed to be navigated around inside of the Angular app. So here is our auth guard service that we've added. And when I look at this thing, I want to add a couple of different pieces. The first one is I want to add this OAuth service to it. So in my constructor, private OAuth service called OAuth service. Now, it's going to tell me that I haven't imported my OAuth service here, so we can add in this. And now it's going to tell me that this doesn't exist, so we need to add in my module TS here a common module, our OAuth module, which is a for root, and then our app routing module. My OAuth module comes from Angular OIDC 2. So I believe what I need to do next is a npm install this. So we're going to add in the Angular OAuth 2 OIDC module. And now you can see that it's been added to the project. And now we have my OAuth service available here in my AuthGuard service. So in here, for the AuthGuard service, we want to have it implement here something called can activate. Okay, and now that's going to have an abstract function in it called can activate. Which we need to say is it's going to have a route here called an activated route snapshot, and then a state for my router state snapshot. And this is going to be returning a Boolean value. Just like that. So this is going to tell me that this doesn't have a return value yet, which is fine. Okay, so when we activate this route, what I want to do is I want to check to see if we have an application user. If we don't, we navigate to there. Okay, so what we're going to add in here is we're going to say if this.OAuth service has a valid token, then we can just return true, so you can activate and go to that route. Otherwise, you want to this.router, so we need to add in here my router to navigate through the Angular app. And we want to do a navigate to the slash and return false. And the slash is just the empty router index page. So that way it'll make us go in and auth. Okay? So this is the beginning of it with our AuthGuard service. We also need to have something in here called authconfig. So we're going to add a new file for this called authconfig.ts. And in this, I want to do a import my authconfig class here from my Angular OIDC 2. And now we're going to have this class as a export const authconfig, which is a authconfig. And this is going to need to have an issuer, a redirect URI, a client ID, a scope, and the post logout redirect URIs. So to handle this, the first thing for the issuer is this is going to come from my identity server, which is here. And my redirect URI is going to be my window.location.origin. My client ID, we assigned that here yesterday as this one. Okay, my scopes here are going to be OpenID, profile, roles, and then this one that we added for the Web API. And my post logout URI is going to be the landing page, which is this one here. And that's our auth setup there, okay? So the next piece that we need to have now Let me look at this again. I don't think we need this auth routing module. That's right. Which auth server am I using? I'm using IdentityServer4, and this one is currently set up as an implicit flow application. That looks right. Our service looks good. And now because we're doing this modularly, we need to add in here a new file called index.ts. And what I want to have in here is I want to do an export everything from my auth module. And then the same thing from my auth guard.service. And then the same thing for my auth config. Okay. So now in my core module, if I look at this, we have my commons module, my auth module, and that's it for now. And for our exports, I want to use my common module again and my auth module. So that way we're both importing it and exporting it so it can be used around the app. Okay, we're also going to want to have a index.ts here. And this one's going to be a import everything from our core module as a, export. No problem. How are you doing today, Woodcraft? And I also want to do an export here from my auth index. Okay? So now that that's done, what that means is in my app module, down here, my imports are going to be my core module, and that's it. No routing module yet. No browser module yet. And in my what is all this? Why did they put my CSS in with my... Oh, that's weird. Okay. That's totally weird. Okay. And then in my app routing module, we need to add a new route in here, which is called a path, which goes to nowhere. And then we also want to say a component here, which we need to define. Now, this component that we want to add in here, we're going to put this inside of a ng generate component called features. Which needs to be routing. Doing very well. Hope you are too. I am. Happy to get this project moving along. Okay. Oops. It's generate module features. Okay, so inside a features module here, I want to import my core module, right? But I think you don't need to do that there because your shared module should have this. It does. So we're going to generate another one here called shared with no routing. And in my shared module, I want to have here my core module. Okay. And then I also want to have in here an exports for that as well. Okay. Which means that our features module can really be inheriting our shared module. And then we also want to do this as an exports here with my shared module. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is in my shared, I want to have a new index.ts in here, which does an export everything from my shared module. Which means that over in features, we're going to also have an index.ts. And in here, I want to do export everything from my features module. And that's all I need to do for now. So if I go back in here and I want to have a new feature called home, so we're going to add a ng generate service, generate component called features home, which means that this is now going to be my home component for my routes inside of features. Just a second. Now, one thing I think I can do is I think I can move this route over to my features routing module. Hey, John, how are you doing? Welcome to the chat. It's good to have you back with us. Doing some Angular CLI setup today. Okay. And that means that my features module also needs to include my home component. And then also that means that my module here needs to have a home component and a home component. So this has been a lot of setup here for us, but I think we're done with this basic stuff. So now what we can do is we can do an ng serve and just make sure that everything is working appropriately. So over here we can navigate to localhost 4200. Router outlet is not known. So that means that in my core module, I want to add in here a app routing module. Try it again. Okay, it's telling me that static injection error. I haven't seen this before. Just a second here. Oh, okay, so what it means is that in my features module, I want to add in here a features routing module. Just another second here. We're going to move this to be here in my app routing module for now. Component home is not part of an ng module or it has not been imported. Okay, so that means that we never imported down here my features module. And I shouldn't need to import the core module anymore because that should come with the features module. So it says that now in my features module, I don't need this component here. What did I do? Just getting it set up, baby. Just getting it set up. Okay, back over here. An app module, let's add back in here the core module. Oh, back to the same error we had before. Just another second here. That looks all right. Why wouldn't this be taking? We're going to try importing the app routing module again here and try running it again. So we want to get over here, we're going to do a Angular CLI static injector error no provider. Don't you need something called like a routing module? And I think you also need to have in here your common module, your auth module, and your browser module. And just another second. Because we should be pretty good here. Your core module is right. And it says no provider for application reference. So let me look at this again. This one is my core module. Common, auth. That's right. An ng module. That's right. The index is right. Auth module is the common and the app routing module. Your shared module needs to have your core module, and that's it. Your features module has your declaration here for the home component, and then your features routing module has that. If I look at my app routing module, I mean, that looks right. So I'm going to move this to be in my features module here. Still giving me my static Angular CLI no provider for application ref. delete node modules and run it again. So it says to delete it and then run what? An npm update. So we'll try that. It says that I need to import the browser module into app module. So as soon as this gets finished with that delete, okay, so what I'm going to do is then inside of my core module here, we're going to add in the browser module. Like that, and then we'll also export it. And now it's working. So here is our Angular CLI site, but currently not set up with OAuth. And you can see that our home is currently working. Before I forget, I'm going to look at this one to see where I'm putting my browser module. You put this in shared components. So what we're going to do is underneath shared, I'm going to ng generate a component called shared components. And we want this to be a module. And in here, I'm going to add my browser module. And my app routing module, although I don't need that because it's coming in from the core. So we could add that here though, and then remove it from core. And then we also want to have a forms module. Which comes from Angular Forms. We also want to have the component here for, well, I have like a loading thing I could use. I have a color picker module. I have a toaster module, so let's add that one. Toaster module dot for root. And we'll add that in just a second. And then we want this to also have the core module in it. And then we're going to create a new ng generate module called shared modules. And in here we're going to create a new one called material.module.ts. So this is for all of my material imports. And we're just going to bring this whole thing straight in. And this is from another project where I implemented material. Now I think I want to do a npm install this. Let me see, we want to do a install Angular material. We're going to add this here. And then in my modules module, we're going to have the common one, which we don't need because we're going to use the core module. And we have our material module, and that would be it. And then we also want to have our exports here as the core module and the material module. We'll do this one with blue-gray. Okay, so now that we've done that and we have our material module in here, well, the next thing that we want to do is we want to have that same thing where we did the index.ts, and in here we want to export everything from the modules module. And then we want to do it again for the material module. So back here in my shared module, now I can bring in here my components module and my modules module. And inside of my index, I now can do the export everything from my components index. And then the same thing for the modules index. So up here we're going to have a new file called index.ts, and we want to export everything from the components module. Okay, we need to add in toaster module now. So to do this, one more second. So to add in this toaster module, I need to add ngx toaster. So we're going to add a npm add ngx toaster. Okay, that's been done now. So I want to import toaster module from ngx toaster. Okay? And at that point, we have our basic application scaffolded. We still need to add a few more components into here. But what I want to look at here is my routing module. And that's getting added to my features, or my shared, right? Which is right. So I think I can move my app routing module to be in my feature module. We'll put it right in this one. App routing module. Oops. As a exports as well. We no longer need this core module because that includes it already. In your browser animation module, we can put that on my components module. Okay, so now we'll check the app. And you can see that it's running over here. So everything is working correctly. And our home is working as well. So the next thing that we need to do is in my app component, TS, just a second here. So in my app component, the very first thing that I want to do is I want to have this with a implements on init. And so now I want this to have my OAuth service in it. So we're going to add a constructor in here. And I want to add in a private OAuth module called OAuth module. And now on my ng on init, which is required, I want to first do a this.OAuth service. This is called an OAuth service, not OAuth module. And we're going to set the post logout redirect URI to the global service. So I want to do an ng generate service called core services globals. Now, you also want to have this as a ng generate module core services. Now, in your core module, we also want to have something here called the HTTP client module. Which I'll put here in core. Like that. And so now in my services module, I'm just going to have here the common module. And I think that's it. So we need to have now a index.ts, and I want to do an export everything from my services module. And then I also want to export everything from my global service, and that's it. Okay, so in my global service, I want to have a new constant in here called the post logout redirect URI, which is going to be a landing page URI. And that one is going to be here. We'll bring that in. So now I can import my private global service here as a global service. And just real quick, if I look now at my core module, I need this to be exporting the services module as well. And in here, that means that we want to get my service module like that. That looks right. And so this is now the this.globalService.landingPage URI. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is get the access token. So we're going to do a const access token equals this.OAuth service.get access token. So if my access token does not equal to undefined, and my access token does not equal to null, and my access token does not equal to nothing, and this is authenticated, then we're going to connect to SignalR here. User is authorized. Okay. And then we also want to set the title here in the ng-init to be the Monitaur. Your web app monitor your web apps web APIs services from one location. Okay. So my is authenticated is a get. And it returns a Boolean. And we're going to get my claims like that. And now if my claims is not equal to undefined and my claims does not equal to null, then we're going to, we can just return that. So up at the top of the class now, we need to have the claims. And I think that this is an any, right? Yeah. Okay, we're going to add in here a new private title service called title. And then I'm going to make a new function down here called setTitle, which is a title service dot set title of my new title. Like that. Now, we also want to have in here my router. And we want to, in my ng, or in my constructor here, do a this.router.events.subscribe. And what I want to do is for, this is for Google Analytics. I want to do if my event is an instance of a navigation end, then we're going to do a any window dot ga set the page and the event dot url after redirects. And the other one is an any window dot ga send with the page view. So this won't completely work here because in your index.html, at the very top, we want to add in here well, on my body, I want to add in first that this is a class equals my mat app background and then mat typography. And then this is the script for Google Analytics. Right there. Inside of my styles.cs, this is SCSS because it compiles down. I want to add in here a @import, and we're going to do a Angular material pre-built themes. And I chose if I look here under Angular material, pre-built themes, pink, blue, gray. .css. And then also I want to import here my ngx toaster, which is my notification server system.css. I should run npm audit. Says a fallen hope. So the security report tells me it's got 2 packages in here, which are, that's weird. I'm not understanding what it wants me to do with this. So help me out here, A Fallen Hope, if you can. And the other thing is, on my index.html, so app component here, all of this crap, I only want to do this div ngIf equals is authenticated. So let me go ahead and kill it, and then we're going to do an ng audit -- fix. Thank you, Fallen Hope. I see now you mix double quotes with single quotes throughout TypeScript. Do you prefer one or the other? I try to use single quotes as much as I can. Oops. npm audit fix. I try to use single quotes as much as possible for TypeScript work. If you see me using double, just let me know. It tells me, A Fallen Hope, that this requires manual attention to resolve, which is a little confusing. So now back here where I serve this, then it's fine. Okay. And here's my app. And when this kicks through, this is probably going to tell me can't load discovery document because I'm not is authenticated. Oh, so I forgot some stuff here. The first thing is I need to have a new function in here called private configure with new config API. And in this, I want to do this.OAuth service.configure, and I want to use my auth config. That gets imported at the top. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to do a this.OAuthService.token validation handler is a new JWKS validator handler. The next step is we're going to do this.OAuthService, and we're going to load my discovery document and try to log in. And then what we're going to do is this disposable variable here, where if my this.OAuthService does not have a valid ID token, or if this.OAuthService does not have a valid access token, then what we want to do is an OAuthService.init implicit flow. Otherwise, we just want to navigate to the opening page. Okay? We're going to want to have another function in here called logout, which is very straightforward, like that. And the last thing I want to do is in the constructor, I want to do the this.configure with new API. The other thing I want to do is I want to have a callback event for this. So we're going to have a new OAuth subscription, like that. And I'm going to do a this.OAuth subscription is equal to this.OAuthService.events.subscribe. And we're going to subscribe here this OAuth event. And we're going to do a access token equals this.OAuthService.getAccessToken. And then we're going to have here check to see if you have the token, if yes, and not connected to WebHub, connect. Is there a reason for single quotes in TypeScript? I prefer double quotes because I often switch back and forth between C# and TypeScript. Only single quotes within double quotes for strings within strings. I don't know if it's a good thing or not. There really is no standard for it. I've seen more single quotes in TypeScript than double quotes. So I just kind of try to stay with the convention, and TS-lint will yell at me, so I've never changed that. Puppers, it's really. Puppies, it's really. Yes, it is. She really is here. Okay. And then also we need to have a ng on destroy where I do a this.OAuth subscription.unsubscribe. And I need to have a on destroy. So now when I check this again, It's now telling me that it's trying to load the discovery document, but it can't find it, which is what we wanted. So now we can start up the Monitaur identity server. So when I look at these things, I want to start the identity and the web API. Wait for it to load. See if that helps it at all. Seems like it's didn't start, so let's try it again. Come on. Seems like it's getting held up when it's starting the identity server. So let me go ahead and look at my startup class here. And we'll set this as my startup project and run it. Yeah, I never saw it kick through. Yeah, I don't see it starting. Well, that's annoying. Let me close this and reopen it. It is in debug mode. All right, there it goes. Okay, this time when we reload the page, it should try to log me right in. It should load that discovery document. And we can verify that. Okay, we'll need to run it again. Oops. There it is, so it's working. And then when we log in, it should load the discovery document. says it never hit the WebAPI, this. So let me go to my account login page. Interesting. Well, something's not working here. So let me go and look at this thing here, and can I do a HTML decode? So it's doing a callback. The return URL is totally wrong. You have the state and the return redirect URI. $4,200, that's right. So it's close. If I look at my local host for well-known, I'm looking for my client in here. Connect introspect. Here's the front channel output. Claims supported, ID token. So why is it adding that return URL? It's called return URL here. So is it because it's missing these security headers? Or is it because it's not over HTTPS? Or is it because it can't load one of these managers? Or is it because it can't connect to the SQL server? So if I look here at my config, it's giving me a 404, which is can't find it. This is running at the HTTP server 5000. Let's try running it on the HTTPS one, but I don't think that's going to make a difference. That should be good to go. Try it again. One more try here. I'm going to install SQL servers locally on my computer soon. Okay. No web page was found. So it's like it's not mapping Yeah, so it's fine. It's like it's not mapping the lit pages. So if I look at the startup, and we add these razor pages here, add your developer signing credential here. It's not this use static files, but I can certainly try it. Let's see. Trying to kick through again here. Try it again. So it's not mapping it. So what we're going to do is make a new project real quick. And I'll make this a ASP.NET Web Core app, and we'll put this on the desktop. And I want to make this a web application with individual user accounts 3.1, and we'll create it. This one, when I look at this, and compare it to what I have here, I add this database context. We could do this as a add default identity, which comes from ASP.NET Core Identity.UI. And here's add razor pages. Down here, use static files. We'll try adding these two things in here, but I don't think that's going to make a difference. So I want to say ASP.NET Core 3.1 IdentityServer4 not routing. Back over in here. We need to see if it loaded correctly. Because it's very peculiar that it's not routing. You have map controllers. So is it because this needs to be add controllers? Add Razor pages not working. So if I look at my app, that's right. That's right. MVC service registration. And controllers with views. Add controllers with views. So in here, we want to do a services.add controllers with views. And then down here, we want to do a endpoints.map controllers map default controller route. Let's try that. Probably going to error on me. Let's run it again. Come on, kick through. One more try. Should work this time. And then I'm going to install that SQL Server today. And there it is. So now it's working. So if I go back over here and I go to my localhost 4200, it should now redirect me over to the login page. There are no login schemes configured for this client. Because currently you don't have local login enabled and there are no third-party providers available, but it is working now. Okay. So what that means is we want to add in my config a new add local login is true. And so I can open up my SQL Server now. And I'm going to go to my clients page. And I'll scrap these. Run it again. One thing I want to add is in my source tree for this. I'm going to open up my called the app. And I should have in here this underneath identity. Where is it? It's this one. We're going to ignore this forever. Okay. And so now back over here, we'll try to log in again. This time it kicks me through. And here you go is our login. So it's working. Okay, so I should have a default user, right? Which is a admin and then this password. And now you can see that we're successfully logged in. All right, so the next step that we're going to do is some SignalR work. Don't forget to commit. Yeah, I'll commit at the end of this little bit. One thing I need to do is if you looked at where the, well, I'm not going to be able to log back in, but it didn't allow me to register an account. It didn't allow me to send an email, so I need to add all that stuff. But for now, I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to go out and get some lunch. When I come back, we're going to do the SignalR work. We're going to first implement it here on the ASP.NET Web API, and then we're going to add it to the Angular app. So thanks very much for staying with me this morning. It's 12 o'clock now. Let's say I'll be back at 3 o'clock p.m. At the latest. And I will see you guys in just a few minutes. Thanks again. And have a great rest of your morning. See you in just a little bit. Also, if you haven't, make sure you check out our Discord, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. And I put all these videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. So thanks again, guys. And I'll see you in just a couple hours. Bye.